Hello and welcome to the Disclosure Show. I'm your host, Ross Jaynes. This evening with us tonight, as always, we have Ty Cobb. Ty, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Sitting in Adam's place, we have Maury County Now host and artist extraordinaire, Quan McFall.
Hello, everyone.
And our guest for the evening, who will be interviewed later, Rick Clark. Rick, what's up, man?
Everything's good.
Everything is wonderful. The world is a wonderful place. It may snow tonight.
More snow.
More snow.
That's what we all need, I guess.
But we'll talk about that here in a minute. We'll talk about that. Let me talk about some corrections we need to have from the last show. So I was stopped on the street and told to make sure that we corrected the fact that the new West 7th Street beautification project would not have medians in the middle of the road. So I need to make sure that that is fully out there. There will not be medians in the middle of the road with the new West 7th Street project. So everybody just take a big deep breath and don't worry about that one.
It's good to know people are paying attention.
They are paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I got stopped a number of times last week. Because we took last week off because we all got iced in.
Oh, yeah.
But, from there, we all had to, unthaw a little bit, and that's why we're back tonight. However, snow is back in the forecast, which leads us to our first topic of the evening, snow preparation and potholes. Ty, you said that you talked to Public Works.
Well, Ken Donaldson and his staff and all the workers at Public Works did a great job in preparing, and then after the ice had settled, getting the streets back to normal.
The main streets were in fairly good condition. Now, I know getting in and out of my neighborhood, it was really, really rough up until like Thursday. But they were still running
Which is
stuff.
understandable.
Yeah, I mean, neighborhoods, it is what it is. But the main streets were fairly clear. What did you guys have?
Mostly in our neighborhood, since I guess a lot of the people that lived there, they kind of took to themselves to clean or clear most of the streets. So it was nice. I mean, we could get out of our driveways. Some of us could anyways. But when you got outside of the neighborhood, that's when it got a little bit worse. It got a little bit worse going like into town and stuff like that.
Now, Rick lives on a hill.
Yeah.
Were you stuck?
We were stuck. We were pretty much stuck until, I would guess, late Thursday or Friday. There was finally the tractors came up, but it wasn't that bad. When I realized that the weather was going to be pretty rough, I just went to my office and got everything I needed, and we just camped out and worked at home and watched movies when we weren't doing that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to cancel the Chair Upstairs event that was supposed to be last week, and Rick was going to be the guest chair that evening, and unfortunately, all that had to be canceled, and everything's been put off to the end of March. Again, we'll talk about that later.
I ended up sitting in a chair at home.
Yeah. So everyone's own chair. That's the trick.
I do think, Ross, everybody has to admit they fell at some point last week. They slipped.
I did not slip one time,
Yeah.
and that's the first time that's ever happened, because usually if it ices over even a little bit, like I get too confident and I walk out there and I fall and bust my tail, but that did not happen this time because I pretty much stayed in the house.
Well, I did fall, so I admit that, and I know Quan did
Nope.
too. So.
Everybody else in my household did, but not me.
It sort of reminds me of one time when John Denver was on Johnny Carson, and John Denver messed up his voice singing, and he sort of said something to the effect like, well, that happens to everyone. And there was an artist who was also sitting at the chair, and he says, no, doesn't happen to me. It was like they wouldn't cut him any slack.
It has happened to everybody. But, the county ran out of salt, from what I heard.
But, the roads mainly are worked by city and state officials.
TDOT does a really good job keeping the main thoroughfares clear. And thankfully, I live right off Casey Lane, and right there is TDOT, where the salt is generally kept. So Casey Lane's always clear. Everywhere else, though, is problematic. So
But you got to remember, too, there are a lot of county roads and go into real deep areas back in the rural areas of Maury County, and Van and his staff have a lot of ground to cover. I mean, the state and city, of course, lead the effort in making sure roads are clear and getting through town and up and down I-65. So, I mean, I understand from the county standpoint they had a limited amount of salt, and I'm sure they worked with the state to make sure they got some salt and the freezing liquids out.
I saw some brine on the streets today. But Davidson didn't open schools until yesterday.
Right.
And they caught a lot of flack for that, from what I heard. And you can't really take chances with school buses on county roads. I mean,
really
rural
can't.
places, you really can't do it. I mean, I know there's still frozen spots in parking spaces, so I can only imagine what some of the roads look like in the county now.
I agree. And I was walking downtown today, and there were still some ice spots in some shaded areas that could be a concern for somebody that's just walking down through
Definitely,
there
like,
talking.
yeah,
and
definitely.
Could slip and fall.
That is real interesting because my office is on the quadrant of where Puckett's is. And because of the way the winter sun goes across the sky, that side of the square is continually in the shade. And the sidewalks were never cleared.
Wow.
I mean, it was like 3 days into it, and I was going into Puckett, slipping and sliding, and I said, I don't know why whose responsibility is it? And someone said, well, it's the building owner's responsibility to clean the sidewalks. Is that true?
I would think that it would be the city's responsibility, shouldn't it be? Should it, though? Like, aren't they city sidewalks?
Well, county, the courthouse is on county property.
Right.
But I think the business owners step up. I know, like, the Polk home took care and put markings out. And
Yeah, you would think that the business owners should or would.
But
you know.
the main job of the city is make sure that the commute and the streets are back to normal as best they can be so people can move from point A to point B.
That may be
So-
a question we'll have to answer. We'll have to bring somebody
Well,
in and see who's
I mean,
liable.
You would
know.
think that the county's the square where everyone from all over the county comes to get married and divorced and sent away to jail,
The full life adventure.
Yeah, I mean they would make the life adventure as pleasant as possible.
Well, especially for businesses too. I mean, you got stuff open all the time, so you would hope that they would clean that out.
The funniest part about all that is, like, we had sun and salt, but the thing that actually did away with the ice was the rain.
Yeah, the rain did a
Yeah, did a huge number on it.
huge number on it.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we'll be back after this. All right, and we're back. Quan, you have the next topic, sir.
Yes. There are a lot of interesting businesses that come in and out of Columbia. Some come and some go, but some actually catch the attention of a lot of different age groups. For instance, Playwell, they're a great new type of interactive toy store where you can build a lot of model sets, mostly from Legos. I know that, I can't remember, is it Lisa and Doug? Is that the...
They have Lisa and Doug toys,
Lisa and Doug
which
toys.
are like early educational building creative toys,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
it's meant to like help kids with their tactile functions, like using their hands and everything. But another great feature they actually have there is that they can teach you how to build robotic constructs, and actually, I think it's programmed, right? It would be programmed.
Yeah,
to
you
do stuff.
program the Lego robot with the appropriate computer tool.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's a nice little like miniature like robotics class almost for like kids to learn and get into that type of thing other than like model trains, which I know we got to preview that when we were doing a segment for
Maury County now,
Maury
yeah,
County
we
now.
got a lot of really great shots of
Yeah,
the train.
yeah, the train was probably one of the highlights of that entire visit.
So
but,
where is this place?
James Campbell Plaza, pretty much right next to Little Caesars.
I mean, you couldn't miss it. It's got this bright, like kid-like.
Yeah, I mean
colors.
it's got like almost Lego-looking pieces on the outside. It's very green, very yellow, very red, very very kid-centric. You can't really miss the colors if you're looking at it.
Oh yeah, and they pretty much have an entire like backlog of whatever you can think like Lego. If it exists, they can find it and they can order it for you. Not to mention, I think you can buy and sell parts there.
They've got a big tub that you
yeah.
can buy out by the weight.
Yeah.
If you look, like you said, if you're looking for a specific part that you're missing, they can actually order archival parts and that sort of thing as well. And I know when we were talking to them, they're actually trying to get officially registered and licensed with Lego to be an official Lego, one-stop shop sort of thing. So they're well on their way to doing that.
Definitely, and since they're brand new, they got like kind of the pick of the litter with, the general public. Because a lot of people know about them, but when it like hits like Christmas time and other like birthdays, they're gonna get hit up pretty well. Especially I think that's something that our like town sorely needs is like a place where kids can actually go and be a part of something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably indicative of a deeper problem. The fact that we don't have very many. I mean, everybody talks about the kids, and we need to do stuff for the kids, and the kids are great, but there's not really any place for them to go and do that sort of thing. And they have classes there.
Oh yeah. They could teach you how to do a whole lot of stuff. I know that for Christmas they have like an ornament building class, and their ornaments look pretty amazing from everything that I've seen so far. But yeah, I think that particular store will do well, and I think they're going to be here for quite some time.
All right, what's another different business that most people would not, or they may frequent, they may not frequent, they may not even know about?
Grog Shop actually is a business that you don't think that is I can't get the word out of my mouth, a great business to go to, but when you actually go there and you speak with the staff, especially the owner, Jeremy, he makes you feel like you should be there. He's really knowledgeable about all the products they sell. I mean, they do a lot of stuff from like wines to craft beers to your standard liquors and whatnot. But every piece of merchandise there, he knows everything about and can tell you about it. Can even request what to drink for you and everything.
Based upon your style, what you like, what you don't like, et cetera, et cetera.
It's like almost like going to like a custom shop where they can fit you out with whatever you need.
Your custom alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever you like.
Yeah.
Whatever you like.
Definitely. And not to mention, I know that they work with a lot of other organizations in town, so they're very sociable with a lot of people as far as like working with them and everything.
Especially Columbia Cares. I'm the president of Columbia Cares. We put on Winterfest Beer Blast every January, like clockwork. We actually just did ours, and it was wonderful. Great event.
It was a great event.
If you didn't show up, shame on you. If you did, congratulations. That's awesome. We'll hopefully see you again next January. But, Grog Shop's a really interesting example because they don't just sell nationally known products. They have a lot of artisan stuff from around the area. They have a very Maury County-centric position in giving those products and selling those products that are locally based. Yes. And I think that's important too, because it's not just, it's artisan. Well, it's actually from here, made by people here, which I think is a big thing.
And so they sell growlers?
They don't sell growlers currently. I know that he was talking about doing it, but I think the way that the alcohol law works is that the shops can't sell growlers.
So you only get the growlers from
restaurants and brewery places where you're serving it by the drink, I think would be the proper term. I could be wrong on that. If we are, please message us and let us know, but I'm pretty sure that that's the case.
I would love to find a good espresso beer.
I'm pretty sure he could get you and point in the right direction.
Good People actually just came out with a coffee stout.
I would love to try that.
It's pretty good.
It's a good breakfast beer.
It is a good breakfast beer. Get the best part of waking up.
Oh, by the way, speaking of ice, that did not stop people from going to the Grog Shop. And their entire parking lot was iced over, by the way. So, yeah.
Dedicated clientele.
No, you better believe it, man.
All right, what's another interesting business? Anybody got one? Ty? Where do you frequent on a regular
where's
basis?
the Grog Shop located?
Across from Columbia Academy in the same shopping center that Pizzazz and Copycats is.
Okay.
You can see it from the road. It's right there. It's the store closest to the BP, that gas station right there. So if you're in the area, it's right about there. And Playwell, if we didn't already mention, was located in James Campbell Plaza.
That's correct.
And both of these businesses are locally owned. So that's one of those important things. Rick, where do you frequent that is a locally owned business that you enjoy on a regular basis? I mean, we got a number of them.
Pull one out of the hat.
Well, where did you have where did you have dinner this evening?
Well, I mean, there are places. There are a number of things in Columbia that we like, and in Maury County. For places to eat, well, I ate at Lucille's for lunch today. It's probably the third time this week I've eaten at Lucille's. It's sort of like bar food made in heaven.
Definitely.
It's like, it's not like your normal cheeseburger or your normal chili or something. It's like the onion rings are to die for. Mm-hmm. And they make those things fresh. So, I mean, I go there. I like going. Yesterday I went to Christie's. I probably go to Christie's once or twice a week.
Love Christie's. Absolutely.
They're the buffet there to me is like going to your grandmother's Sunday lunch or something. It's like the perfect, the vegetables, everything they feel like they've been made with love.
I'm a huge fan of their cornbread salad.
Pretty good.
That stuff's amazing.
I love everything about Christie's.
You like going on Fridays for the fried chicken, don't lie.
That's why I love Kiwanis. We have Christie's there every Friday for lunch, so we've got it right.
Exactly. You didn't even have to go there. You were already there.
Well, it's funny because there's so many things that Christie's does well. I don't recall them ever having anything that I went, wow, this is lame. I mean, like they had one of the last times I was there, they had meatloaf. And the meatloaf, you would think anyone can do meatloaf, but when it's really good, it's exceptional.
Yeah.
And they this was the meatloaf with the tomato sauce, but they had lots of tomato pieces and everything in there, and oh gosh, it's making me hungry thinking about it.
And I'm glad to say I'm not just going to call one restaurant my favorite, but
yeah, I can't
here
either.
in Columbia and across Maury County, we have many great restaurants to pick from. You can,
I
have an unhealthy obsession with Puckett's nachos, like an incredibly unhealthy obsession.
And normally, if you don't have a big appetite, you won't finish it.
No,
I agree with that. But Ross, you're the one that hadn't told us where your favorite restaurant is. I want to hear from you.
I love the Lucille over at Lucille's. I absolutely love it. I had the California wrap over at Venue 10 back a couple weeks ago. Absolutely love that one. I don't like going to any one place too often. Don Pepe's is actually one of my favorite places to go because I love Mexican food.
I love Don Pepe's.
Love Don Pepe's.
Yeah, we're regulars.
Yeah. Like all of these places I visit on a regular basis. Like I said, it's probably not good for me.
Well, they make the guacamole fresh at the table.
They do. It's fantastic.
Have you ever tried that, Ty?
It's good stuff.
It's amazing.
And we were just at
They have a buffet,
Fujiyama.
too.
We were just at Fujiyama Saturday.
One of my favorites, too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And you don't even really like Asian food all that much, but this man tore up 4 plates of food. 4 plates.
Wow, he sounds on par with you.
Yeah, I know, right? I quit. I was like, I'm tapping out. No, Ty kept going.
I did. I really did.
Some of that rice and yum yum sauce, and he tore it up.
Oh my gosh.
To me, one of the real sleeper places for me, having been born and raised in Memphis, finding barbecue that does it for me is a tricky thing. And Brickhouse Barbecue is the most unassuming, nondescript place on the side of the highway there, near Roberts Toyota. And I can get it Memphis style when I buy the family pack. I take it home and toast the buns, because that's how you have to do it if you're going to do Memphis style. And you put the slaw on top and their blend of the real hot sauce with the mild. If you mix it up just right, it'll be the most sublime barbecue sandwich you can imagine. And it's right here in Columbia.
Yeah,
I love Brickhouse.
Yeah.
I really do. And I tell you
The
what,
ribs
it's
are
one of the
wonderful.
cleanest places that you'll go into.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's sublime. I mean, I have not been in another barbecue joint outside of Memphis that hit me the way Brickhouse does. When it's really good, it's slamming.
I'm with you, Rick.
All right, Ty, you got the next topic.
But we're going to continue on more shows talking about
Local
great
businesses
restaurants
and
because we've
local
got
places.
so many.
I think
so
Quan should be our cultural outreach, person to bring in the music, bring in the restaurants, bring in the local businesses. That's your new job. That's what you're doing here.
That's all right, man. I don't mind because there's a whole lot of places I like talking about.
Reporting from the streets.
Well, speaking of, I do have one question.
Sure.
You know the Mexican food truck that was behind Landry's? Where did those guys go?
No idea.
Man, they were the only place I could find that would do authentic tacos al pastor, the real street food, and it was fabulous.
The only thing that sucks about what you just said, I think most of these people went to Nashville because if you go to Nashville, there are like trucks like that galore, and it's probably just because they couldn't get the type of business down here.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of food trucks here.
No, you don't, and it's kind of a shame because our town's made for it. Like especially like downtown. I mean, think about it. In the summertime. Food truck, come on, man!
Amusem does the food truck fundraiser every year,
really?
Which is a good one. It's a great fundraiser.
I haven't been to that one, but I need to do that one.
Yeah, I have to go to that too. That sounds amazing. Okay.
All right, Ty.
Well, let's talk about trash in Columbia. I think Mayor Dean Dickey, Columbia mayor, was right on target when he talked about how we need to.
Now, this issue originally started in the Planning Commission.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this issue actually originally started in the Planning Commission, which I'm privy to every one of those meetings. So.
But it's a serious issue that's been going on for a long time. I mean, we've discussed it from a county standpoint. I mean, the state's had several bills and legislation about cleaning Tennessee, and then, of course, here in Columbia, we see a lot of trash on the ground. It's something, you don't like talking about, but it is true. I mean, we've got to do better in cleaning the city.
I think it's important to delineate the fact between just standard trash, like fast food bags, that sort of thing, and what you normally catch on a regular basis, such as like a mattress or a sofa or whatever else that ends up staying beside the road for
more than just
or in weird
small
spots.
litter.
Yeah, more than just small litter. I mean, small litter is always a problem. You're always going to have people that throw trash out. I mean, every now and then something blows out of your car. You can't necessarily help it,
right.
but you do your best to try to clean it up. But mattresses don't get there by accident. You don't just lose a couch.
Well, I do remember too when the late Commissioner Glenn Hassey was instrumental in cleaning the Duck River effort, and remember how many tires and just tons of trash they pulled out of the Duck River and cleaned up in one weekend. But
right, which is really there's really no reason for it because the county will take a majority of that stuff. Now they used to not take stuff like computer parts and batteries and paint and that sort of thing, but they do now. So and maybe it's the fact that we've covered them on Maury County now, trying to get that word out that they do have that big cleanup. The only thing you can't bring down there on a regular basis is like nuclear materials, but who has that anyway? So
I just found this piece of plutonium in my pocket.
Right? Yeah, that doesn't happen. So but regular and they do the painkiller thing, so you don't flush them down the drain. They have those disposal methods and that sort of thing, so you just don't have these sorts of issues and that sort of thing. Full disclosure, some of Rick's past had to do with the cleanup in East Nashville. Isn't that correct, Rick?
Yes.
How did East Nashville tackle the garbage problem?
I think that it took a coming together of a increasingly proactive community. It's sort of like the old thing about greasing the squeaky wheel. When I first moved into East Nashville, it sounds crazy to me now, but you knew what the sound of an AK-47 sounded like on your block. You could tell different guns, because there were people and gangs and all kinds of things going around, and you called the police, and if they showed up, they'd say, well, what do you expect? You live in East Nashville. I've heard people say that there was a time when people would say, well, what do you expect? You live in Columbia, and sometimes with the trash and things like that, it's a similar thing. People sometimes acquiesce or become entropic in their thinking, where they just say, well, it's just the way it is. Well, it sort of isn't the way that it has to be. You just have to get enough people to start thinking that they actually have arms and legs and brains and a mouth that they can sort of create a commotion and get things moving.
The momentum for East Nashville is really taken off, too. East Nashville, compared to what it was 5-10 years ago, the real estate market's jumped, and you're seeing a lot of great projects going on the east side of Davidson County. So,
that's exactly it.
That's it. And
it would have never happened if there hadn't been people proactive.
Yeah, right.
And it's going on here, too. It's slowly getting that way. It's slowly building that direction. It's becoming that thing. But and one of the issues is, we have to deal with that trash issue. That's one of those big things, when you pull right into town and you drive through the heart of town and there's a chair laying out in the middle of the road or on the side of the road and nobody does anything about it. Well, what does that say to the visitor? What does that say to the citizen? We can't even take care of our own place. Come on, man. Get it together.
Well, yeah, it's all a matter of priorities. What's important to you? People come into town and they see that. It's just like in East Nashville. I remember I'd drive past all kinds of garbage, getting to my neighborhood. And it would always baffle me. But after a while, you just keep making so much noise
Well, hopefully the mayor and the planning commission are moving forward on something like this, making sure these things don't happen, and putting it to task, really, especially to the citizens. I think that's who's ultimately responsible for it. So hopefully it's going that way. All right, we'll be back after this. All right, welcome back to Disclosure Show. We're back with our wonderful, wonderful guest, Rick Clark. Rick and I have been friends for a number of years now. A occasional drinking buddy. We have a beer every now and then, which is always nice. Rick has a incredibly interesting story. He is a music and television supervisor for such shows on the air right now as Hell on Wheels, which is incredibly interesting. Rick, give us a little bit about your background, how you got to Columbia, what you're currently doing now.
I got here
On a magical plane.
Yeah, on a magical plane. Actually, I've always been a Tennessean. I was born and raised in Memphis. Moved to Nashville in the mid-'90s. In 2006, I was moving or setting up a second residence out in Santa Monica to do the work that I was doing for film. And along the way, shortly thereafter, around that time, I met Mary Bullock, who is Mary Ball, who is my life partner. She lives here in Columbia. She's a lifelong Columbia person. And we've been together ever since. And over time, even though I was doing a lot of film work out in Los Angeles, it became increasingly apparent to me that I was able to do more and more of my work back in Tennessee. And what further helped it along was meeting Stephen Walker and being able to set up a very cool office right on the square.
It is a very cool office.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Well, and I think you bring up a very interesting point with being the media professional that you are. And the advent of the internet and the way that things are moving now, you can pretty much do almost whatever you want from wherever you want if you have the right tools and connections.
That's exactly true. In fact, one of the things I like to try and get across to people is the idea of Columbia being a place that you can't escape, but a place that you choose to live, even though you can live anywhere you want to live. My job, I could be anywhere. And I'm very, very happy being right here in Columbia. I like the fact that I don't have to deal with traffic. Everything is very familial, very intimate in many ways. The people here, the government, the businesses, everyone are accessible and eager to help. You've got CPWS, who's done a great job of putting internet downtown. I do the entire TV show and every movie that last 8 movies I've done in Columbia.
And what are some of those films, good sir?
Well, the last thing that I did, and I'm getting ready to do the next 2 seasons, is the AMC TV show, which is an episodic Western thematically based around the Transcontinental Railroad, the building of it. And it's called Hell on Wheels. It's sort of funny because some people who are unfamiliar with the show think that it's a biker show. But actually, it's the name of the town. I even think it has truly a historical connection, that was what the workers called the town that they continually were building, tearing down, moving further down the landscape as they were extending the railroad across the country. And I do spotting sessions, which those are sessions that where people are looking at the screen, at the visual of what has been cut to screen, what is being assembled for ultimately being viewed. And the spotting sessions allow someone like me and the composers to be able to see what is up there and say, okay, we need to put something in here. We need to compose something for that. And, I'll do spotting sessions on Skype simultaneously with a production crew in Calgary, Alberta, and one in Los Angeles. And we all have multiple screens. We're all watching the same thing at the same time. And I'm doing that in my little office in downtown Columbia. And, I do all my music research, do everything from here. And
this man has one of the most vast CD collections that one can imagine.
I've seen it.
It's huge. It's
huge.
gargantuan. Like
Wow.
almost anything you could want, you can probably find in there if you know where to look.
Well, Rick, I want to say something. I really appreciate your comments about downtown, about Columbia Power and Water, and just some of the positive things here in town that you're talking about. Can you kind of just expand on that and talk about, for somebody looking to locate in Columbia or coming here from somewhere else, some of the great qualities that stick out, like you mentioned?
Gladly. The thing about Columbia that I find real appealing, and in some ways, and some of you out there listening might understand where I'm coming from, especially if you were in East Nashville at one time. Columbia to me is sort of like it's ready for transformation, for a new narrative in the way that East Nashville was after the tornado. It's like Columbia, East Nashville has lots and lots of older buildings and very interesting places, interesting structures. The spaces are laid out with lots of character. It hasn't been overbuilt with just bad development. And Columbia is very intact in many ways, and it's extremely affordable. And so some friends of mine from up in Nashville that I try to get to come down here, I will say, East Nashville, when you could afford to move to East Nashville, now you have to be like a doctor practically to buy a $600,000 house up there. You can come down to Columbia and buy that very house for under $200,000 probably, or certainly under $250,000. And the other thing that I also try to stress to people, because I'm very focused on Columbia being increasingly known as an arts community, and an arts community that is not simply fine arts, but all kinds of arts, all the way, especially those that intersect with technology, because that's really in the area that I work in. But, gaming, animation, post-production, audio, music supervision,
Street art,
which there's probably a game that will use street art. And
something you don't see much of here.
But street art, writers,
Unconventional.
in other words, things
Arts,
that
for the
aren't.
most part.
In other words, things that are not like you could be a chef. If you're
Culinary
trying to
arts.
culinary arts, exactly, and that's very different from Olive Garden, and so the thing is that Columbia to me is like an open canvas. It's like a place where there already is a very decent-sized creative community and a community willing to embrace the arts and embrace technology. And
We have the bones and infrastructure for that. We mentioned that on the last show, saying that Columbia has good bones. We know that. There is fiber all over downtown thanks to Columbia Power and Water Systems. It's there. You can pretty much do whatever you want to do technology-wise in Columbia, Tennessee. Everybody always looks to Chattanooga and these places as the prime ideal utility system, to have those sorts of abilities and advancements. We've had it here for a while. And most people would never be aware of it because it's not something that's touted all too often, I don't think. And I think that may be a branding and a marketing problem, but it's still there. It exists. It's already in place. This Friday, there will be a group from Paducah, Kentucky coming in to talk about the artist relocation program that has coming up there. Rick has been very instrumental in bringing that in. Talk a little bit about that and why you think that's so important.
Well, I think it's important basically to reinforce the direction of what I was already describing. For several years, there have been people, myself included, who are saying we should consider the model of what Paducah, Kentucky did in their artist relocation program, which was launched around 2001. And just to give that a brief explanation, Paducah designated basically a large neighborhood next to downtown that was going through lots of troubles in terms of decline, crime, an extraordinary over dependence on municipal resources like police and fire, where a lot of taxpayers in other parts of the city weren't using those up. Those areas that were using a lot of the police and fire and ambulances were not tax-paying generating areas. And so someone came up with the idea, like, well, let's put the word out that we're going to a number of these properties that have either been seized by eminent domain or by banks, or that where people just ceased paying taxes and they were picked up. We'll cut very special deals for people who are professional artists, and the banking institutions, whatever, will assist in certain kinds of home improvement loans, things like that, to improve the properties. One of the stipulations they had was that you couldn't flip a property. If you signed on for this, you were keeping this property and improving it over a period of years. And and as you were improving the property was being taxed like a normal house on the average of any other part of town. And it turned out to be a big success, so much so that they've expanded into another whole section of Paducah, and that's taking off. And so that was a real appealing idea to me. Mary and I went up to Paducah a couple of years ago and one weekend and checked it out, talked to people. We really liked what we saw. And so since then it kept getting brought up. And it was one of those kind of moments where either you're going to stop talking about it or do something about it. And so in a meeting after a discussion, I just basically said, well, as a private citizen, let's at least put together an exploratory effort and invite these people down. And so,
and that was in at the Arts Commission, or at the Arts Council, at the Columbia Arts Council in December, correct?
I believe so. And
which is the month before I joined, which was in January.
Well, it was when I mentioned that if I go ahead and spearhead this, if I invite you guys, will you come along? And everyone was happy to do so, and very supportive. The Arts Council was very supportive. The
Arts in Action
was very supportive. Yeah. Also, the CVB, Aaron Jaggers, they were wonderful. We've had great support from Jennifer Moody and Tony Massey and the mayor's office, and local businesses. And so Christy Martin, down with Main Street, she spent a lot of time working with me too on this. Columbia has a resource of great people, and who really want things to be done right and to be moving forward. And so we find this real exciting. So we're going to be doing a tour, Muletown Trolley. I need to mention those guys were extremely helpful to us. And so we're going to see Columbia. We've got all the things we spent all afternoon today, Christy and I, just mapping out every street and what we were going to do. We've got all the notes. We're doing a tour on Friday. We're having a study of the aerials and everything of the city. After that, we're having a dinner at Puckett's. And then in the evening, I believe it is 7:30.
7:30, somewhere in that frame.
Yeah, we are going to have a presentation upstairs at Puckett's. And the people at Paducah are going to be doing their presentation, sharing their ideas, giving us some initial feedback about what they saw, how their programs worked in ways that might be comparable to what they see we could do. We're going to do some wrapping up on it for Columbia on Saturday, and then we go down to Mount Pleasant, and we're going to sort of do the same thing. Mount Pleasant, as you well know, it's a different. It's a different.
It's got a different climate. It's got a different feel to it, but still has that hometown charm.
Well, you know what? The thing about Mount Pleasant is that it's a city that, would you say, is a tenth the size of Columbia?
Roughly, yeah. I'd say that.
And if you look at the housing stock in Mount Pleasant,
They have some of those beautiful homes.
it's crazy.
They really do. It's
It
nice.
is crazy, just crazy good. So, and there are good things happening in Mount Pleasant. Donna Morency, a lot of those people down
They
there.
have an arts festival coming up at the end of the month, too. End of March.
Yep,
End of March.
sure do. So,
We'll get some more information on that before the next show. I cannot remember what the name of it is. Southern Arts Revival, maybe, something like that. But we'll get some more information before the end of the show. We may have her up here, hopefully sometime in March, and get that done. So that'd be really good.
Okay.
The other thing that you've got coming up is A Chair Upstairs, March 26th, 6 p.m.
that's right.
Yeah.
Robin Monger, another one of Columbia's wonderful assets.
Well, and here's another fun fact. We had actually planned on recording this show and releasing it before The Chair Upstairs to get people excited to come to that event that night.
Yeah.
But because of the ice and everything got put off. So we moved Rick to next week, and then unfortunately that event got pushed off a month. So
as a matter of fact, it's going to be the 26th.
that's what I said, March 26th.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I just had to grok that into my brain.
Yeah. We're all the time having to coordinate schedules because we work on so much together, so we got to write stuff down all the time.
Yeah, Chair Upstairs. Robin had this idea that she wanted periodically to have people who were, she felt had something interesting to say.
I've referred to it as the Maury County TED Talk series, is basically what it is.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. It's a TED Talky kind of thing.
It is a very TED Talky kind of thing,
And so,
which is not a bad thing. You know?
no, it's great.
Innovative thought leaders bringing forward really, really great ideas to help improve the community and talk about what it is that they do.
Every town should adopt this.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You know, and for my presentation this coming March 26th, it'll be upstairs at Venue 10, and it's titled, I believe, Why Music?
Why Columbia? Or
And
Why
wh-
Columbia, Why Music?
Yes, something like
It's-
that. But believe
it's
me,
one of
it's
those two.
Why
It's
Music and Why Columbia. Why Music in Columbia. And so I'm going to go into more depth about what I do for music, what brought me to Columbia. And Ross and I are going to set out to try and set up some of the scenes that I composed and produced for Hell on Wheels. And
Both of them are fantastic. The two scenes that have been chosen are one is incredibly emotionally resonant, and the other one is more of a, it's not lighthearted, but it has a lighthearted take to it, the way that it comes off.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
You know, so we'll be having the speakers set up and you know a large enough screen for everyone to see, and that should be a lot of fun.
And what was the date of that again?
March 26th.
March
You
26th.
buying supper?
Well, it starts at 6 p.m. They should
6 p.m.
have a few things out there for people to taste and that sort of thing that evening. And the actual presentation begins at 7. So if you can't make it at 6, then make sure you're there by 7.
We have lots of things on the plate.
There's lots of stuff going on here.
You know,
It's good stuff.
we have, I guess, we can touch upon briefly what we have coming up in October.
Yes, October 3rd, actually. Have you decided what you're going to call it yet, or are we still undetermined, unnamed music show?
Inquiring minds
Well, you
want
know,
to
there is just like Coachella or Bonnaroo have a
Synonymous names.
it's a name that usually has a subheading, you know, like South by Southwest media conference or whatever. You know, it's going to be called Muletown. It might be called Muletown Music Fest, but it's going to, people will just say Muletown. And it's the whole thrust of it is going to be celebrating all things Maury County businesses. Even though the event is happening downtown on the county seat square, it is the county seat. Therefore, we are going to have places from around the county amply represented. There'll be lots of music. It will be a very exciting and positive thing. The feedback we've gotten from the community thus far has been over the top.
Well, and I'm not surprised, Rick. I'm really excited about things you're talking about tonight, but the key to that is you surround yourself with good people in Columbia and Maury County that have given a lot of time and hours to making it the best place to live and raise a family. But I'm excited. I know a lot about Rick, but the topics he's talked about tonight are very interesting, and it should excite anybody.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot going on.
And I think one of the reasons why we put this together, the show to begin with, is to show people what's going on in Columbia and Maury County. Stuff that but if you didn't know Rick was here, you're not going to go up and talk to Rick. You know, it's one of those things you wouldn't know about these things. You wouldn't experience this stuff. You wouldn't have any idea the level of expertise and professionalism that somebody like Rick brings to the table. That's a fact. You know, you just wouldn't know.
Yeah. However, you cannot miss him standing in a crowd. That is.
He's exceptionally tall.
Yes.
That's not a bad thing.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because Ty is too.
You know, it's a funny thing because talking about people that you just never know, like for this Paducah event, there are obviously a number of creative people who are interested in wanting to see how this thing can unfold. And one of the people that'll be coming down this weekend is a woman who's a very, very, known all around the planet kind of portrait painter, and she's wanting to move to Columbia, and it's like we can attract some really great people if we sort of do a few things to finesse the setting.
Make it look nice, make it look pretty. Closing out, what is everybody looking forward to in this next week? Rick, I'll start with you. What are you looking forward to in this next week before the next show comes out? What do you got going on? What's happening? Well, the Paducah, the artist relocation committee.
I'm looking forward to to great positive results with the artist relocation program and moving forward on this exciting festival idea. And outside of that, trying to wrap up music for a movie and prepare for the next season of Hell on Wheels.
Yes, sir. Quan.
Truth be told, I'm actually looking forward to seeing what a lot of these music venues that are popping up downtown are going to provide, for the general public, because these places are, I think, going to be like essential to attracting a lot of outside business. Because, downtown doesn't necessarily get a lot of attention. It does, but this type of draw.
It brings in tourism and new people.
Most definitely. And
Ty?
They need karaoke.
Yeah, desperately. We're in the works on that. We're in the works on that. It's Ty.
Wow. Man, I'm excited about the future. 2015 is starting off right, and there's a lot going on, and Rick's talked about a lot of fun things coming down the pipeline. And, of course, I've got to throw a plug in for this weekend, as you're talking about, is the Kiwanis Yard Sale at the Memorial Building. Yep. So there'll be a lot of things going on at the Memorial Building Saturday. So make sure you stop by the Kiwanis Yard Sale.
All right, and for myself, I am actually really excited about the next Maury County Now. The very last segment on that show will be the Daphne and the Mystery Machines video Learn to Fall, which was produced by myself and Quan and another Maury County Now host and videographer, Hannah. Daphne was telling me yesterday or this morning that when her mom watched it, she cried. That's how good it is.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously it's impactful. I hope everybody else enjoys it. Ty, please begin the close.
Well, it's always fun to be here at the Maury County Public Library. If everyone knows where it's located, on West 8th Street, so make sure you stop by and visit our friend and co-host Adam Southern. and the staff here at the Maury County Public Library and check out a book while you're here. And, of course, as always, make sure that you have a working smoke alarm in your home, too. We want to make sure people are fire safe as we continue to have cold weather that's in the teens and a lot of fireplaces lit and heaters going. So this is always the worst time of year for the fire service in responding to fires and deaths, and we want to make sure we can prevent those here in the city of Columbia.
I want to thank our special co-host this evening, Quan, who showed up in place of Adam, who could not be here due to other circumstances. I want to especially thank our real guest, Rick Clark. Rick, thanks for being here this evening.
Sure. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Rick,
right.
We've enjoyed it. I tell you, I'm really excited. I mean that. You've talked about a lot of great things going on, and we're glad to have you here, and we're glad you're here to talk about them. And hopefully towards maybe the end of the year or somewhere during the middle of the year, we can bring him back to talk about the success of some
Rick
of
will
these
be
programs.
on. Rick will be a regular guest
So
because Rick's always working on something cool.
Yeah, the chair upstairs, I'm pretty excited about that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's going to be a lot of fun. But these, that said, not to negate it, all of these other things are exciting because they're team efforts.
And working as a team is important, as we all know, as
Oh,
we all
yeah.
work on the same team, hopefully. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Disclosure Show. Please check us out at ColumbiaRadioNetwork.com. You can download and listen to any episode that we have recorded there, as always. And thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, insults, compliments, did I already say that? Whatever. Feel free to visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/Columbia Radio Network. And again, make sure you listen to all of the wonderful artists and shows on ColumbiaRadioNetwork.com. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, or morning whenever you're listening to this great show.